Wake up. Monday, July 22nd. It is the week the NFL season officially begins for the 49ers. Larry, training camp opens Tuesday, also known as tomorrow. So it's good football's back, baby. Here we go.
No question. Good morning to everybody. Good morning to Raphael 562 He says, good morning, Damon. Good morning, Larry. Good morning, everyone. And then he drops a like and subscribe, everyone. So please do.
Like and subscribe.
Hit a like and subscribe. If you hit like, that just helps the algorithm. More people find the stream. And if you hit subscribe and hit that notification bell on both of our channels, each time we go live, you'll get a little notification. Da-da-ding! They're going live, and you don't have to miss any of it. So help grow the channels, I should say, and hit a like and subscribe, and we're glad you're here, and happy Monday to everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. The heat has broken. We've now gotten just a regular summer, 75, 85 kind of a day instead of 105. So much, much nicer, and I can't wait for camp. I'll tell you, I've been really, really enjoying Hard Knocks spring edition with the New York Giants. I think it's been really good. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll, and kind of seeing how they put everything together. If you've ever been involved in any kind of personnel office,
it's a peek behind the front office curtain more than it is a peek into the locker room, right?
Well, because it's the off season, so there is no locker room. So it's just like, hey, but it's really interesting to see the dynamics that go on there, because John Mara, who's the son of Wellington Mara, who's the owner of the team, who's probably in his 70s now, he's very involved on a day-to-day basis with the New York Giants. And even though he's not the GM, he's not the head coach, he's very involved. And it was like when they lost Saquon Barkley to the Eagles in the division, and you could see it was like that did not sit well with John Mara. So to me, this is some of the really interesting stuff. So we've had a glimpse inside the New York Giants off season through Hard Knocks, and it's been good, and it's gotten me ready for, I think, training camp. Hard Knocks might be the Bears. Yep. I'm not really sure which one. There's three of them this year. There's a Hard Knocks in season, there's a Hard Knocks off season, and then there's a Hard Knocks preseason. I think the Bears are the preseason edition.
They are.
So I can't wait. And camp begins. It's a huge year for the 49ers. Let's be honest. They're trying to run it back. They've got unfinished business. They've done everything except win the Super Bowl. And it's one thing to approach the door. It's another thing to bang on the door. Sometimes you got to kick that MFer in. And this is hopefully that year that the Niners kick in that MF door and win that 6th Lombardi and bring that down to Santa Clara. So it's been, Damon, it's almost been 30 years. It was 1994 Niners that were the last team to climb to the top of the mountain with Mike Shanahan as the offensive coordinator. Here they are 30 years later with the son trying to get that 6th. If you had told me in 1994 we would wait 30 years or more for the 49ers to win another Super Bowl, I never would have believed it, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, it's a big, bad football world out there. It's not easy to climb to the top of it. There's no doubt about that. And the 49ers could not be, making more noise on a front porch, but to be led into the house, it's a monster year. It's an absolutely monster year. The pressure on Shanahan, who has aged like a president over the last 7 years, this is his 8th season now, is it's immense. And it's really not, like you're in peril of losing your job pressure. It's bigger than that almost. It's living in your father's shadow. It's knowing that you've got a team that's ready to go, knowing that your locker room is officially ready to go, and you have been anointed as one of the brightest, best young coaches in all of football so long ago, you might not even be really classifying or checking the box of young coach anymore. Like Kyle Shanahan is a middle-aged NFL coach now, and he wants this badly. They're built to do it. Now we got little moments of, acrimony heading into this season, but here's the real skinny of it all, Larry. No matter what happens, it's got 49 days to come together. 49 days until the start of 49ers football. That's how far away it is from Monday night, New York Jets, September 9th. We are 49 days away from kickoff of 49ers football. So again, awesome to have you here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Someone in the chat said that they would not be liking my channel until I came out a Kings fan. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think I'm a Kings fan, but light the beam. I'm not anti-Kings, so I expect to see one more.
I could have swore coming through these earphones, I heard someone just say, light the beam.
Light the beam. I don't care. Light the beam.
Light the beam.
Light the beam.
Oh my God, no.
As long as it ain't against the Warriors, light the beam. I don't care. I don't care anymore.
Good for my Kings fans, Sac State buddies. You got DeMar DeRozan, but and maybe you're better than the Warriors this year. There you go.
We'll find out.
I'd love to see the Kings win a title. It'd be great.
We're not going to go down that road right now. It is Wake Up, and we have something else to talk about here, Larry. And we'll get to Brandon Aiyuk in a little bit. Of course, it's the headache that hasn't gone away. Kyle Juszczyk, though, as today's thumbnail suggested, a little bit of the focus of the start of the show here. Not exactly thrilled with his situation. Now, he's not going to come to work and be a grump or be a distraction in any way. Juszczyk is a pro's pro. Guy's just a fantastic, an A-plus type of person. He doesn't want to wear the hat of I'm a distraction, I'm the squeaky wheel asking for more grease or anything like that. But he had to sit down with Mike Silver of the San Francisco Chronicle, and he basically crapped all over the Pro Football Focus ratings that have been descending on his career since his Super Bowl season with the Niners. And then he got into the fact that he felt a little bit disrespected by the Niners by asking him to take a pay cut and restructure. And it sounds like he is sort of blaming a descending Pro Football Focus grade on the Niners feeling like they were within their right to come in and ask him to take a pay cut or be released. And he says to Mike Silver, had I been released, there were several teams waiting for me. Well, of course there were. This guy's a Pro Bowl fullback. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler. But teams that carry fullbacks, Larry, those are further and fewer between. And I'm sure Kyle Juszczyk would have had a suitor, but it wouldn't have been at the price point that the 49ers had walked away from it. I know that you and I talked about this and how Guerendo might be a replacement for him already, but we don't talk about Kyle Juszczyk very much. He's a really good guy. He's a very good player. And he had his own little drama with the 49ers this offseason that's kind of coming into focus right now.
Well, and, I'm sorry for him that his feelings were hurt, but, this is the NFL, and it's rough. As far as, his Pro Football Focus grade, I don't, where do we put Pro Football Focus? It's like it's notable, and that's it. That's about it. That's what I would say. I would say, I'm interested to see what their grades are, but I definitely don't take their grades to the bank. And I'm not saying that he's right and they're wrong, or they're right and he's wrong. I haven't done the work, and I won't begin to make the, try to grade their grade. But I did watch every 49er game. And I know this guy's been paid handsomely to be one of the best fullbacks in pro football. He's a unique player because when you think of fullback, you think of, hammerhead, a guy that, he can be a lead blocker. He'll create room. You run behind your fullback. It's a surefire touchdown. He's not that kind of fullback. He's more of you can throw it to him out of the backfield. You can put him in motion. He can be your wildcat quarterback. He can do a lot of things.
He's a little bit more weapony than he is just
not a hammer. Yeah,
right.
He's not the hammer. He's not. This isn't Daryl Johnston from 1993.
It's not.
This is a guy. This is Allstott was kind of more of a runner.
He was,
running back. But this guy's not Tom Rathman. This guy's not that 245-pound hammer, and then he can just do a few other things, but not particularly well. He can do those other things really well, and except he's not the hammer lead fullback. I also think he's been compensated really, really, really handsomely. I do not think that Kyle Juszczyk can go back and over his NFL career and be like, you know what? I didn't maximize my earning potential. I think he's I think he's made every nickel, especially when you think about the supply and demand now on his position, where there's hardly any supply. There's not a huge demand, but he's at the top of the supply list.
Larry, I'd wager without even looking or having done a stitch of, research on this at all. I haven't Googled it. I bet you that Kyle Juszczyk has made more money in the NFL than any fullback in football history. I bet you he's the highest career earning fullback in NFL history.
I mean, that thing always goes up. So the newest players always tend to make the most, but you're probably right. I mean, why wouldn't that be right? I mean, I bet you that is indeed the case. And he says his play has not declined. And I would tend to believe him that his play probably has not declined, but his money will be declining because of his age and because of Brock Purdy, and because Brock Purdy's going from $900,000 to $60 million. And because the Niners are so deep and so loaded with star caliber talent, and this guy's on the wrong side of 30. So, I mean, this is it. I would say this is his final year with the 49ers. Almost for sure.
Yeah, I would almost guarantee that too. Let's look at this from a few different angles. Let's just start with Pro Football Focus grades. The Pro Football Focus grade on Juszczyk during 2019, during Kyle's first Super Bowl year, was a career high 73.8. 73.8 out of what? I don't know. It's like a
90 or something.
Pro Football Focus grades are sort of like quarterback ratings. I have no idea what math is used to even deliver the number that we all then focus on. But here we are. So he's 73.8 in 2019. This past year was his worst Pro Football Focus grade at 56.7. As you just said, Larry, you would tend to believe him that he's not falling off, as would I. To me, there is no real difference between the way Kyle Shanahan played or used Kyle Juszczyk this year as opposed to the Super Bowl year in 2019. I have not seen a decline. I wouldn't say he was a delivering less than he used to deliver player. As a matter of fact, I remember us doing shows last year where I said, I want Kyle Juszczyk to get used more. I think Kyle's got this really interesting wrinkle that he doesn't thumb his way to the Kyle Juszczyk portion of the playbook often enough. I think there is more to be gained out of Juszczyk. And since you're paying him so handsomely, you might as well. It's also, every touch for Kyle Juszczyk is, theoretically one fewer touches for Christian McCaffrey, and I think fewer touches needs to be a goal for Christian McCaffrey this year in the regular season.
How many times did Juszczyk touch it, you think, last year?
Like 18, 19 times.
14 receptions and 5 runs.
There you go. 19. There.
Yeah.
God.
19 touches.
Yeah.
From scrimmage for Kyle Juszczyk.
I'd like to see him used more from scrimmage. I really would. Now, I don't know if the 49ers consider his Pro Football Focus grade before they hit the negotiation table and ask him to take less money or risk being released. I don't think it means that much to them. But maybe, is there something to be said? And he only got 19 touches. I don't know if you can quickly bring this up, Larry. How many touches did he get in 2019? In the season where he had his best Pro Football Focus grade? Was he dramatically more involved handling the football in that year? My memory doesn't say, yeah, he absolutely was, man. Juszczyk was all over the ball in 2019. I don't remember that. I don't remember him.
No, in 2019, he only touched the ball 23 total times. It was 20 receptions and 3 runs. He only had 3 runs that year.
To me, and this is not an indictment on Juszczyk, but to me, his highlight play as a 49er is when Jimmy Garoppolo straight up missed him. He was wide open. I mean, there was nobody but a hot dog vendor around him. And Garoppolo it was one of those moments where, as we were debating whether Jimmy is or isn't, that was a big goes into the isn't pile play where he missed a wide open Juszczyk on a wheel route that would have, he'd still be running with the ball. That to me is like the biggest on-field memory I got of this guy. I think he should be used more.
I mean, looking at his pro football, just looking at his actual stats for this last year, they're pretty freaking underwhelming. I mean, he 17 games, 5 carries for 6 yards. He averaged 1.2 yards per carry. His long run of the year was 3 yards. So he had 0 touchdowns, and that's rushing. Now, receiving, he had 14 receptions on 17 targets for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I mean, he's been a nice player. He's been handsomely compensated throughout his career. He's played a long time. He played 4 years in Baltimore. He's now played 7 years here. You know, he's had over a decade in the NFL. His first year was 2013. It's now 2024. Right. The guy's done really well for himself financially. My question is,
he was on the Ravens team that beat the Niners in New Orleans, right?
Yeah. He was on the 2013 Ravens, 2014, 2015, 2016. Then he was all with the Ravens then. He came to the Niners, Shanahan's first year in 2017, and they paid him a ton. And a lot of people were like at the time, whoa, you're giving a fullback this much? And he's like, yeah, but he's the best fullback in the league and blah, blah, blah. And he's been good. I don't know if he's been spectacular, but he's been good. But now they've got a dilemma because now they've got a deep team, a very deep wide receiver core, and a very deep running back room. And they just drafted Isaac Guerendo in the 4th round, and he runs 4.33 at 225 pounds. So he's an incredible size speed guy. And yet there's Mitchell, there's Mason, there's CMC, there's, you just drafted Cody Schrader, who a lot of people think is a really talented running back. I'm one of them. So, I mean, Guerendo is going to have a hard time making this team. In some ways, if Guerendo is the 4.3 speed fullback replacement for Juice, that would be a great thing for the 49ers because they can't really afford to pay Juice anymore. They tried to get his replacement last year in Coletto, and then he was a little underwhelming physically, and they left him they put him on the practice squad, and the Steelers poached him in the middle of the year. So he's now a Steeler. But now, 2nd year in a row, they've gone for another player that, to me, looks like a fullback. I don't know. Other people are saying he's a running back. We'll see what he looks like in camp, and I'll hold off reservation till the preseason. But to me, he's like the perfect replacement for Juszczyk. And
he's got a
I don't see them both making the team. Yeah, I think Juszczyk makes it or Guerendo makes it, but I don't think they both make it. So it's going to be a very interesting cut down August 27th.
Yeah, well, that's going to be a tough decision because it's, would you rather have one more year of the end of Juszczyk or retain a player whose career's, all the way in front of him that you drafted? And look, young, playable talent on its rookie contract, it's worth its weight in gold around the NFL. It's going to be twice its worth in weight in gold to the 49ers going forward. They're going to be working opposite of that quarterback on a rookie deal, and that's where you save your money and you can build your team around that. They're going to be in the opposite world. They're going to bizarro land on that, where their quarterback is going to be among the highest paid in the history of the position, and you got to figure it out everywhere else on the roster. So, yeah, retaining the highest paid fullback in the sport who only gets 19 touches during a Super Bowl year. Let's enjoy Kyle Juszczyk's last year with the 49ers. And here's the thing, what I really like about the guy, Larry, is you're not going to hear anything else. One of the things that I think bothers me, like the most common fan misunderstanding about the team, is that there is acrimony among 49ers players that the franchise does players wrong. That is not the position of the 49ers locker room. They're not tuning out Kyle Shanahan. They're not frustrated with the way that the 49ers do business. A couple guys are, but it's not the overwhelming theme in the locker room. This is not a divided locker room. This is not a distracted locker room. This isn't an angry at ownership locker room. And people are trying to paint it like that. Just, I think, looking at everything through the prism of the Brandon Aiyuk offseason. And I think nothing could be further from the truth. I think that if you took a poll the 49ers locker room respects the way that the 49ers do things and go about their business as much as any team or group of players feel that about the team that they play for. Like, the Niners are in very good standing with the players.
Yeah, I mean, I won't go as far as to say, you know, how the players feel about the team and this and that. I don't I don't know how the players feel about the team, to be honest. But I think there's mutual respect for John Lynch and the way he goes about, you know, being the face of the franchise. I think everybody understands that Parag Marathe is a very tough negotiator, that the Niners historically are very tough negotiators. But I think since Lynch showed up, there's a mature adult who's kind of the public face of the franchise. The players respect what he did as a player. They respect what Shanahan has done as a coach. So yeah, I'm sure though, if we went to the corners of the room and really did a deep dive, that we could find some discontent.
Oh, of course, nothing's perfect.
You know, there's always going to be some discontent in the room.
To present the 49ers as they do wrong by their players and their players don't appreciate the situation they're in, that's misrepresentative of what's really going on in that locker room. Not everybody.
I just haven't seen that. I haven't seen anybody say that.
No.
But I don't doubt that it's out there. As far as Juszczyk, though, supposedly the Cardinals wanted him, and he said, I have a house in the Bay Area. My roots are set there, so it was going to take a lot for someone to uproot me. There were a lot of teams that were interested, but nobody that was going to blow me away and make it worth giving it all that up. Yeah, I mean, just because, you know, there's only probably, I don't know. I mean, I would guess just without thinking too much about it, I would say probably 6 or 7 teams in the game right now carry a fullback. And of those 6 or 7, probably 3 or 4 use the fullback in a regular fashion week after week after week. There's a lot of teams that don't use the fullback at all and don't have a fullback. So, you know, I'm sure there were teams that were interested. I don't know, you know, since there's very few teams that use the fullback more than the Niners do, I would be interested to see exactly, was there anybody out there that would approach anything close to what the Niners are offering? Probably not. That'd be my guess.
Look, if you want to be real, like, hey, Juszczyk, as a family, how do you make your best payday? Kyle Juszczyk stays right where he is, and his wife continues to crank out designer NFL merchandise. And when the Kansas City Chiefs roll into town during this regular season, there's Taylor Swift sitting in a Levi Stadium press box or a luxury suite with her, you know, a Christian Juszczyk made Kansas City Chiefs jacket. And they talk about that for 30 seconds. And that is the single greatest commercial Christian Juszczyk's growing young company of apparel could ever have. And it's worth more money than the next 3 NFL contracts could be possibly worth to Kyle Juszczyk. Like, Kristen is about to, I think, be the major breadwinner in the house based on her apparel deal. And she's going to sell more shit being the wife of a 49er than the wife of an Arizona Cardinal. Full stop. That's the way it works. So look, Mike Silver got an interview with Kyle Juszczyk. Kyle Juszczyk is the kind of guy who you ask him a question, he's going to answer it honestly. But this is not an upset, unhappy, pissed off that he's here level of football player at all. That's not who he is.
No, he's fortunate. I mean, he's one of the, he's made a lot of money. He's had a really nice career. He wants, I'm sure, to win a Super Bowl. And he's going to have another opportunity this year to go for it. He's a really outstanding fullback. So, you know, and he's made good money. So nobody needs to worry about Kyle Juszczyk. And I'm glad that he's back because he's a good football player. Is he worth all the money they have paid him? That, I guess you could debate. But he's a solid football player for sure.
Look at it this way. He's a big postseason touchdown away from the answer to that question being yes, he's worth the money. You know, so step up and play big in big games. And that's going to be the mandate for all 49ers. every game is sort of a big game, but we all know where the big games really start in the postseason. And you got to be back in the Super Bowl. Anything less than you're back in the Super Bowl is an utter failure of a season for the 49ers. And even just returning to a Super Bowl without winning it is a failure, obviously, for the 49ers. There's no team under more pressure to win right now than this team right now. Kansas City can talk about how it wants to be the first team to three-peat in the history of football. That's a wish. That's not pressure. There's something totally different. If the Kansas City Chiefs don't win the Super Bowl this year, no one's going to take away their previous 2 Lombardi trophies they won in back-to-back years or think less of them. Everyone's legacy is secure. The 49ers are desperately trying to secure their legacy, which brings us, Larry, to the never-ending story of Brandon Aiyuk. And I don't want to spend much time on this today. Maybe you do, but I think we've talked about this from every conceivable way. This is the week where I hope they get something done, where I hope this story reaches its conclusion, because I do believe Brandon Aiyuk will hold out, and that will be, it's just something that the 49ers want to avoid. I was just looking, here's your Brandon Aiyuk headline sampling the day before training camp opens. Brandon Aiyuk, teams that fit 5 potential suitors. Headline number 2, should the 49ers trade Deebo Samuel and pay Brandon Aiyuk? Headline number 3, Patriots offered a 2nd-round pick for Brandon Aiyuk. Headline number 4, Brandon Aiyuk likely to hold out of training camp. Like, these are all the sorts of headlines that you didn't want going into this training camp, and here they are. So, damn it.
Just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Yeah. I mean, this is how it goes. I mean, this is unfortunately a reality of recent 49er history. They get involved in these contract snafus, and sometimes they get solved on time, and sometimes they get solved just in time. Sometimes, and we'll see. Maybe this one won't get solved at all. There's a few thoughts on this thing. One, I think it's. So I decided I would take a deep dive and look at, what's on YouTube in relation to Aiyuk. And, so I stumbled onto a couple Steeler podcasts, and I'm listening to these guys go through their thoughts on this potential trade. And it's just so obvious that these Steeler people are just absolutely, they just cannot separate their fandom from logical trade talks. So this guy, I'm watching this thing last night, and this guy's like, I'm going to talk about the 3 players that I think are most likely to go for one of these guys to go for Brandon Aiyuk. Okay, so now it's 3 players, but only one of them is going to San Francisco for Aiyuk. And I'm like, well, this should be good. Let's see what 3 players he picks.
So what they're saying, basically, Shanahan would have his pick of these 3.
Well, they're saying these are 3 players that the Steeler podcaster could envision the Steelers parting with for Brandon Aiyuk.
Okay.
So it's not quite like this is what the Niners want. It's more like, this is what, these guys are just so wrong. So, okay, first of all, the first thought you would think is, some good young, either draft picks, right? Or some good young player. They start with, who was the first guy they threw out? Oh, the first guy they threw out was Dan Moore. Dan Moore Jr. Okay.
He's a backup offensive lineman, isn't he?
He is a 25-year-old backup offensive lineman from Texas A&M who is not their starter. We're not talking about their starting left tackle. We're talking about their backup tackle. Okay. So their backup tackle, they feel like, and they're like, well, we've got Dylan Cook and we've got Tyler Beach and we've got other guys, Devery Hamilton. We don't need Dan Moore.
They drafted what?
Zach Frazier, Troy Fatanu, Mason McCormick. Yeah.
Yeah. So they spent a lot of draft capital on their offensive line.
3, and they got, in my opinion, they got the best center, the best guard, and the best tackle in the entire draft. I think the Steelers hit big. But so the first name is Dan Moore, a backup offensive tackle. The second name that they're throwing out was the outside linebacker, Alex Highsmith, who's not bad, but once again, Alex Highsmith is just, he's just all right. I mean, he's okay. He's a 20. I mean, he plays opposite TJ Watt. So he gets a lot of one-on-ones. And the third name they threw out was, he's like, well, they need a free safety. So you think, well, who's the Steelers' free safety? It's Minkah Fitzpatrick. Now, they throw out Damontae Kazee, the backup free safety. And I'm thinking to myself,
and wait, just one of those guys would be enough to trade for Brandon Aiyuk, according to the Steelers.
Damontae Kazee, Alex Highsmith, or Dan Moore Jr. plus like a day 3 pick. And it's like, are you kidding me? This is a 26-year-old all-pro wide receiver. Your other wide receivers not named George Pickens are Roman Wilson, Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller, Quez Watkins, Dez Fitzpatrick, Marquez Callaway. Do you see what I'm saying? A bunch of donkeys who can't play. And it's amazing that the Steeler people are so ridiculous. So the Niners want your backup left tackle or your second best 3-4 edge rusher or your backup free safety, and they're going to give you a 26-year-old star wide receiver who's about to have the best 3-year run of his career for that. I mean, it's just what? I mean, come on. I mean, it's just it's absolutely crazy. So I was thinking to myself, what's a fair deal? What's a fair deal for Aiyuk? I mean, forget Steeler fan and forget this over the top. I want 2 number 1s and all that. What's a fair deal for Aiyuk? And to me, with the Steelers, I mean, if you said, to me, this would be a fair deal. Aiyuk to the Steelers with Cam Latu and Josh Dobbs for Peyton Wilson, Darnell Washington, Justin Fields, and a 3rd-round pick. Now, why do I have that deal? I have that deal because, one, I think that one of the major weaknesses for the 49ers is, can they win any games if Brock goes down? And I would say no. So I don't like Dobbs or Allen as the backup quarterback, and the Steelers are going with Russell Wilson. I would see if I could get Justin Fields. I still think that.
Hold on, Larry. You're basically asking the Steelers to trade might be our starting quarterback. They're not including Justin Fields.
They have Russell Wilson.
I know that, but they also probably never would have signed Russell Wilson had they known Justin Fields became available. And the fact that they pursued Fields and landed him after they signed Russell Wilson is no screaming endorsement of their belief that Russell Wilson is the guy for the job or the long-term future. So under no circumstances are the Steelers coming off of Justin Fields this year. But I know you're just trying to create, like this is what you would come up with.
I think Russell Wilson has already beaten out Justin Fields. I mean, camp hasn't even started yet, and there's already talk that the Steelers may move Fields. But we'll see. That's more from the standpoint of, could you imagine Justin Fields with his 4.4 speed with all these weapons as Kyle Shanahan's backup? To me, he's a much better backup than Dobbs or Allen or Mordecai. Darnell Washington, I think, makes sense because the Niners have Kittle and they have a receiving second tight end in Braden Willis. They don't have that blocking tight end. They lost Werner to Atlanta, and they haven't really replaced him as a blocker. Darnell Washington would do that. And you could throw Latu back just because he's a body who plays tight end, who was a 3rd-round pick, and that makes sense. And then Peyton Wilson. Enough of this talk about Brandon Aiyuk for backup offensive linemen or backup safeties. If the 49ers are going to trade a 26-year-old wide receiver who's an all-pro, they want a good, young, talented player coming back in return. And Peyton Wilson is exactly what the doctor ordered for the Niners. They don't have Dre Greenlaw. They're not going to have Greenlaw for the rest of the year, most likely. If they do get him, it's going to be December and January only. Peyton Wilson was a really good player at NC State. He was their 3rd-round pick or whatever. And And that's fair. That's fair. If the Niners are going to trade Brandon Aiyuk, there's going to be some pain involved. And if you're going to be the team of 7 or 8 or 10 teams around pro football that want this all-pro receiver, there's going to be some pain involved in what you're trading. And trading Dan Moore and DeMonte KZ and Alex Highsmith is not pain when you're getting an all-pro receiver. But trading Peyton Wilson, who potentially could be a very good linebacker, and for the Niners, gives them another good young linebacker.
Well, how about this, Larry? If you're willing to throw in Dan Moore and Darnell Washington, I would think Nick Herbig is a guy that I would also be interested too. He played really well when he was at Wisconsin. Yeah. I'd be surprised.
He's a little small for the Niners. Like he's 6'2", 240. And if you look at since Kasarik has come in, their defensive ends are more like 270. But I like him. I mean, I love him. I'm a huge Nick Herbig fan. And he's probably up to 250 anyway after last year. So, yeah, Herbig or Highsmith makes sense for the Niners. Dan Moore probably doesn't, because I don't know that Dan Moore's even beating out Jalen Moore for that third tackle spot, and they're probably not keeping 4. So I'm not 100% sure that Dan Moore even makes the team. DeMonte KZ does not move the needle for me. But if you're saying Alex Highsmith or Nick Herbig, maybe. But even those guys, there's limits to those guys. Peyton Wilson's got a higher ceiling.
Of all the players that you just mentioned, the one that will help the 49ers the most this year is Brandon Aiyuk. So I really hope that they can get something done. I really do. Everyone talks about how nasty and all the discontent that has been sort of sown on public media about all this. It can end with a signature. It really can. And I just think that Brandon Aiyuk is pot committed to being, the guy who holds out as it all feels right now. There is a number that the 49ers can put on the table to get him in this year and then deal with the ramifications of it this upcoming offseason. And I really hope that they do that. I really do, because you don't want this year without Brandon Aiyuk. It might happen. It will suck if it does. We'll be measuring the impact of his absence all season long. In every game, where is Brandon Aiyuk will be a topic as they're playing it. If he's not on the team. So I really hope that it can happen. There's a part of me that thinks, it's just frustrating. I don't like these headlines. I don't like the distraction. I don't like the importance of Purdy, losing his preferred target here. How could the Niners like this? And they sort of knew this was coming. Like we said last week when we were talking about it, these are not stupid people. They didn't totally misjudge the wide receiver market, but they might have misjudged the personality that they were dealing with here, which again is even, I think, more disappointing, because this is the personality that's been in your locker room for 4 years now. So you should know the guy. And the whole thing seems like it's just an unnecessary distraction.
Well, to me, it's much ado about nothing until this week shows up and he doesn't show up. It's at this point, like, they haven't missed anything. He knows Purdy. Purdy knows him. Purdy needed to spend that time getting to know Cowing, getting to know Pearsall, getting in step with those guys. He's in step with Aiyuk. He knows what Aiyuk likes. They know the offense. They've been in it together. So to me, it's not what's already happened, because what's already happened is no big deal. It's what happens going forward. Does he show up right away?
Right. The big
because
deal,
it's offensive football, and it does take some time to for everybody to get on the same page. And you see the difference between a touchdown and a pick six. You don't have this guy in camp, and suddenly the communication's not there, and they get into the first game with the Jets, and it's a tighter game than you think, and all of a sudden it's an early fourth quarter series, and Aiyuk cuts out, and Brock thought he was cutting in, and the ball comes in, and the safety grabs it and takes it back for a pick six, and there you have, in a nutshell, what this holdout did to your offense. It hurts you on that particular play. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
This entire thing so far, Larry, has just come with hand-wringing and finger-pointing. Consequences become attached to a Brandon Aiyuk contractual situation beginning Tuesday. Like, they don't hit the field for practice on Tuesday. Probably later in the week, Wednesday, they'll go out and start walking around. Thursday will probably be shells or something like that. But the Niners are going to roll in veterans here slowly. Tuesday will not be the first Niner training camp practice. But consequences are attached to this conversation going forward from here. There will be damage done with a holdout, or there can be damage avoided with a contract, or there can be distraction and damage avoided with a trade that hopefully gives you bodies to make big snaps with this year. Just draft pick conversation has left the room. That's not enough. The Niners got to win it now. They need players to help them now. So it's the holdout heard around the world, and I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of talking about it. There's another holdout that hasn't gotten much attention here, Larry, and it probably doesn't deserve much attention because everyone seemingly knows that there's going to be, conclusion reached quickly. But Jordan Love has got a little mini holdout right now of Green Bay Packers camp. Jordan Love says that he will not practice until he and the team agree to a contract extension. Brian Gutekunst has said, the general manager, that he's optimistic that they're very close. We want the same thing. We're working hard to get it done. That's what he told reporters. That Love's agents says that, everyone understands they're trying to get it done. And, the Packers understand where he's coming from. He doesn't want to play without some guaranteed money coming up. And it's kind of the situation that Brandon Aiyuk is in too. But Aiyuk's not the quarterback. This is the quarterback. So expect a Jordan Love contract announcement in the next 48 hours, Larry.
They just signed Kenny Clark to a big money extension. Maybe they freed up some cap room by doing that. But yeah, I mean, they have yet to reach an agreement. I guess Love's camp informed Brian Gutekunst on Sunday that he would not take the field until an extension agreement is reached. So he's not gonna be holding out. He's gonna hold in. So he's gonna go to camp. He's just not taking part in the drills. And this has kind of become a common strategy to avoid fines. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to risk getting hurt. But I'm also not going to give you the satisfaction of being able to find me. So
didn't Melvin Ingram with the Chargers invent the hold in?
I'm not sure who invented it, but it's genius. It's genius. It's like, hey, you know what? You're not going to take money off my plate in the form of, penalties because I'm not there. I'm not going to get fined. And yet I'm not going to go out there without proper assurances, financial assurances, and risk paralysis, because that's what you risk anytime you step on a football field. You just, and they're just not going to do it. So, we'll see. I mean, Love was a 2020 first rounder. They're saying the AAV that he's expected to land is right around $50 million. Wow.
Well, it's going to be one of the stepping stones of the Brock Purdy negotiation at some point here. It'll be a reference point. So,
will they trade Jordan Love and go with Sean Clifford or the guy from Tulane, Michael Pratt?
I hear that they're considering a package to the New York Jets to trade for Aaron Rodgers. Can you confirm?
Yeah. Could you imagine that? But I mean, this is the NFL. I mean, you got to battle for your money. And the quarterbacks make a lot, but they still, there's still a process. You got to battle it out. And Jordan Love has been, only thing I'd say about Green Bay is I'd be a little hesitant to throw out the big cake for Jordan Love without seeing another edition of what he did. Because he really struggled and then took off.
Right.
And he had a 21 game stretch or whatever it was, 15 game stretch. He's had a great run.
He had an awesome.
I'd be a little concerned. I'd be a little concerned without seeing it again. I think I need to see it one more. If I'm Gutekunst, I think I need to see him get off to like a 5-0 start before I'm going to believe that this kid's worth the big cake.
At the same time, though, Larry, he's not going to get you off to a 5-0 start because he's holding in, and you got to make that decision before you get to game time. So, that's
well, and then look at the options. I mean, if Green Bay doesn't have him, they have nothing. Green Bay's quarterbacks, as I said, it's Sean Clifford and Michael Pratt. So Pratt's a rookie, 7th-round pick from Tulane. Clifford sucks. He played at Penn State. He was a 5th-round pick last year. They're basically a one quarterback team. They lose Love, and they're not winning.
It is weird. Love does have some leverage in this, because you're way too late in the year to play the who's our quarterback. Speaking of who's our quarterback, one other story that popped up this weekend was John Harbaugh feeling that he had to defend Lamar Jackson. And I think that this is another one of those moments, Larry, where, we do know that the noise the media makes and social media makes gets back to players and it gets back to coaches. And these players and coaches are kind of keeping receipts. I think that this, we could substitute the name Lamar Jackson for Brock Purdy and do the same kind of segment about the 49ers, although Kyle Shanahan hasn't come out for a 2-minute, 43-second response, which John Harbaugh did. John Harbaugh, when asked about the criticism directed at the NFL's reigning MVP, he filibustered his answer a little bit. Like, this is obviously something that, he didn't just want to wave his hand and go along to the next question. He wanted to answer this. And he says, quote, "There are a lot of great things said about Lamar, but there's a lot of stuff that's said that you just got to scratch your head and kind of wonder, like, what is that person even thinking? But we do take it personally," he says. Now, I think the same thing could be said for a portion of the way that Brock has been covered. Like, it's literally that they're a group of 49er media people, content creators, whatever you want to call them, who are existing in a universe where observable reality refuses to sway their opinion. Like, you didn't like Brock from day one. Okay, now in day number 300 of Brock, your opinion has to have changed a little, right? Well, for some guys, no, he's still awful at this. Well, he finished top 5 in MVP voting. So maybe you're a little wrong on this, and he might be a little bit better than you want to. No.
Did you see the Warren Sharp stat from over the weekend about completion percentage on passes of 20+ yards?
No.
So he went through the entire league, right? And he put out a tweet, completion percentage on passes of 20+ yards down the field. So, of course, anytime you see a completion percentage on passes of 20+ yards, it's going to be a somewhat low completion percentage.
It's a number that's built to be small.
Right. So the lowest completion percentage in the NFL on passes of 20+ yards down the field last year was 8%. And it belongs to Mac Jones. Okay. The second lowest,
that his wide receivers sucked. So.
Right, is right. Yeah, exactly. Another guy who had a super low percentage, but it was 22%, blowing away Mac Jones. Bryce Young, another guy who had kind of questionable receivers last year, rookie from Carolina, 22%.
Right, okay. But it speaks to his arm talent, right? There you go. He still did it at 22%, even though he's throwing guys with frying pan hands out there.
28%. Patrick Mahomes checks in at 28%.
By the way,
Joe Burrow.
I did see Burrow's Mahomes uncorked throw across his body against the direction he was moving. That was unbelievable. Like, Patrick Mahomes
from
training camp uncorked one of the 5 greatest passes you'll ever see in your life.
Oh, he's a freak. Joe Burrow, 29%. Okay.
Right.
Josh Allen in a group with Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert and Lamar at 32%. Jordan Love, who we were just talking about, 36%. Justin Fields, 41%. We also mentioned him. Trevor Lawrence.
By the way, that's a bigger number than I would have expected for Justin Fields.
I know. He actually had some connections with Darnell Mooney this year. Trevor Lawrence, 43%. Kirk Cousins, Stafford, and Goff at 48%. CJ Stroud at 49%.
All right, so what's Brock?
Top of the list, number one percentage in pro football, 55%. Brock fucking Purdy.
That's
Brock Purdy, Mr. We're gonna sit there and call this guy dink and dunk and dink and dunk and dink and dunk and dink and dunk and except that's all bullshit. And his completion percentage on passes of 20 plus yards down the field is the best in the freaking NFL. Best in the NFL. I mean,
weak arm, Larry, arm strength. It's a question.
Nobody completes a higher percentage of passes 20 plus yards down the field than Brock Purdy. He's at 55%. There's only one quarterback in the league outside of Brock who's 50% or higher, and it's Tua at 50%. But I mean,
right. And he's throwing to like the best wide receiver in the game.
Mahomes is at 28%. Burrow's at 29%. Josh Allen's at 32%. And Brock Purdy's at 55%. That is an eye-opener.
He's scrutinized and he's criticized to the level where it's unfair. And that's what John Harbaugh is saying about Lamar Jackson. So, by the way, Lamar Jackson, he's been around forever now, right? Guess how old Lamar Jackson is. Don't look it up real quick, Larry.
I know. I would say 28-7.
You're right. He's 27 years old. Feels like he's been here forever. He's only 27.
He came out at 20, I think.
He is the youngest two-time NFL MVP since the AFL merger. Since 2018, Lamar Jackson has the second best regular season record in the league. His team is 58-19 when he starts. He's led Baltimore to the NFL's best records in 2019 and in 2023. But he's struggled a little bit in postseason games, losing 4 of the 6 playoff games that he's been in, and that's what everyone scores against him. It's like, you'll give him an MVP, but then insist that none of that matters because the postseason hasn't gone according to plan, as if he's the only Baltimore Raven out there deciding how these games are played. Now, he did have a bad AFC title game at home, losing, 17-10 to Kansas City just this past year. He was 20 of 37. That's only 54% completion. Again, Brock is that good on his long passes, for goodness sakes, much less everywhere else on the field. But John Harbaugh says, okay, so he's growing. He's got a growth mindset. He's going to get better and better, no doubt. But what does he have to do to prove himself to some people, right?
Win playoff games.
Sure. But in the meantime, you do have a player who has prolifically proved himself to be a winning quarterback. And because of a little playoff failure, you want to group him in with the, just another guy. It's ridiculous.
He's a great player. We saw on Christmas night what he is. He's a great player.
He is.
He's a great player. There's no question about it. By the way, one other Warren Sharp stat from the weekend that I thought was incredible. And I just ordered his whole thing because his information is absolutely unbelievable. Offensive plays that gained 30 plus yards last year. The worst team in the NFL had 12. The best team in the NFL had 36. 3 times what the worst. The worst team in the NFL, as far as a number of offensive plays that gained 30 plus yards, dead last, Carolina.
I'm going to say 12. It's
Number 1,
it's the Niners.
36. Green Bay was second with 33. Miami was third with 32. Rams were tied with them with 32. Saints had 30. But wow, that's 36 offensive plays that gained 30 plus yards.
Well, and again, what more are Purdy's critics seeking before they will admit their original evaluation was wrong and he's better than you assumed? Because if the only time you're ever going to admit that a quarterback is good at what he does is when he picks up a Lombardi trophy, you're the dumbest voice in the conversation.
Well, here's the other factor. They have these conversations. I mean, all these conversations are always had in a vacuum. The how good's Brock conversation, always in a vacuum. The how good's the Niner offensive line conversation, always in a vacuum. So the Niners offensive line, which we don't consider one of the better offensive lines in pro football, despite the fact I think they gave up the 6th fewest sacks, and I think they were 3rd in the league in yards per attempt rushing. But we would all agree the Niners do not have a highly rated offensive line. According to Warren Sharp, he's got the best offensive line in football, the Lions. Number 2, the Falcons. Number 3, the Browns. Number 4, the Eagles. Number 5, the Chiefs. Right there, you've got 3 Super Bowl contenders in the Lions, Chiefs, and Eagles, all in the top 5 offensive line-wise. The Packers check in at 7. The 49ers are 17th, according to Warren Sharp, on the offensive line. So not only is Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, but he's operating behind a mid-pack line at best. And he's still winning. He's 17-4 and putting up all kinds of stats and leading the NFL in all kinds of categories. So how do you factor that in? Is Jared Goff as good as we think he is, or is a lot of that Penei Sewell and Frank Ragnow and Taylor Decker and those guys up front? It's I think Hurts is decent, but how much of that was Kelsey and Lane Johnson and all those guys? The Niners offensive line is 17th, and yet Purdy and the offense are putting up 30-plus points a game and incredible stats. So you got to factor that in as well. The people who want to diss on Purdy never seem like they ever bring up the fact that the teams he's going up against have, top 5 O-lines, and he does not.
I didn't watch a lot of games where I thought, though, like this offensive line, man, it's a problem.
It really wasn't that much of a problem. It had some high-profile breakdowns.
It did. It had the most high-profile breakdown an offensive line can possibly have. Last offensive play of the Super Bowl is a fucking disaster. Outside of that, I didn't spend the entire season worrying about, is the offensive line going to show up today or give Brock a pocket to work from or open up some running lanes for Christian McCaffrey? Like, they did fine. They could have run
better to the right. They could have done a little bit better. Obviously, Brendel struggled against Cincinnati. Burford had some high-profile mistakes, But, Colt McKivitz struggled against T.J. Watt in week 1. No question about that. It wasn't the best line going or anything, but as I said, they allowed the 6 most sacks in the league, or the 6 fewest sacks in the league. And they were like 2nd or 3rd in the NFL in yards per carry rush attempts.
Teams with bad offensive lines don't reach Super Bowls. Okay. It's just that simple. The 49ers might not be
typically,
they might not be measured as against the weight of Pro Football Focus grades, where we began talking about how no one even understands them in the first place. The 49ers offensive line was so bad last year, they were in overtime of a Super Bowl. It's pretty close to being okay too. So there's, you can get bogged down in minutia, and you get bogged down in grades and other people's opinions and all this stuff. Like, use your own eyes. They were pretty damn good.
Yeah,
honestly, they really were. So
it wasn't a stellar line, but and obviously we saw a breakdown, a very poor timed breakdown. But overall, I think line play in the NFL there's a lot of teams that are pretty challenged. I would love to see the Niners, though, and I don't know how you feel about this, but to me, if there was going to be like one kind of like surprise, let's say, of Niner camp, if I could pick one, I would love it if in their time away that they felt like maybe Dominic Pooney and Drake Nugent were upgrades on Feliciano and Brendel. I don't think that's going to happen, but I would love to see the 49ers inject some youth and some athleticism and some power into that offensive line. And
how about this? I don't care about the age of any youth or power on the. I just want a little bit better play. If Dominic Pooney represents, 5 fewer breakdowns in his play, if he were to be inserted over Burford or Feliciano, then play him. That's who is going to make the fewest amount of mistakes. That's what they're looking for. And this is what Burford has been criticized of. Chris Forrester said he is a physical specimen. He just needs to come in there and lock in and not make mistakes. He needs to be more focused. And if Burford is beaten out on technique of focus by a rookie, shame on him. He will have deserved to have lost his job. Feliciano, again, if you can't beat out Feliciano at the end of his career as you're beginning your career, shame on you. So,
I mean, Burford was a 4th-round pick. Brendel was a street free agent. Feliciano has floated around. He's a veteran journeyman. I mean, it's not like if you pulled Brendel for Nugent, you're pulling Mike Webster in his prime. You're not. Okay.
Right.
You're just not. And it's not like if you said, hey, Feliciano, we're going to have you be the jack of all trades backup. And we're going to go with Dominic Pooney. It's not like you're making one of the big errors of all time. Will Feliciano be more consistent than Pooney in the first half of the year? Yeah, probably. But I think it might be time to inject some more talent, power, youth, athleticism, speed to their offensive line. To just run it back with the same O-line, I don't know about that. I would rather I'd feel better about their line if they made a couple of changes to it. Just because I didn't like what I saw from Brendel and I didn't love what I saw from Burford and Feliciano, and at times McKivitz as well. And I think they need one young offensive lineman who can really give some pop in the run game and give them some physicality that they lack. So that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see at least one between Nugent and Kingston on the inside, Pooney probably inside as well at guard. One of those 3 guys I would love to see step up and commandeer a starting job.
Go get it. Nothing but opportunity awaits. Veterans report Tuesday. And football's officially underway. We got 49 days until week 1 against the New York Jets. It's going to go by in the blink of an eye, Larry.
Absolutely. Can't wait for it.
Before you know it. So are you going down to training camp this week, Thursday,
yes.
Friday?
I'll be there every day. I'll be at training camp every day. And we'll do reports back there. We'll bring you highlights from camp, all the podium sound. And then every day we'll do full recaps on what happened at camp, what we thought happened. We'll do some live streams in the evenings. It's gonna be great stuff, man. Keep it locked on the Krug Show, and Damon Bruce Plus will have lots of content for you guys throughout the football season.
And Kevin is back from Europe. The European vacation is over.
He's back later today. That whole
wearing like
whatever that computer glitch that set everything back. Canceled his flight a couple days ago, so he's been battling to get out of Athens. But yes, he has flown from Athens to Southern California, and he will be taking the short hopper from John Wayne to Oakland, I think later today. And we're fired up to have him back, and he's fired up to be back and to get rolling on the channel. We're gonna have an absolutely monster year on the channel this year. It's gonna be fantastic.
Would he hit? He hit Paris. He hit London.
Paris. He hit London, Barcelona, Rome, Nice, Venice. Yeah,
he went for it.
Maybe even a couple others in there. He definitely hit something between Paris and Barcelona, and I forget what it was. But yeah, he went with his girlfriend. He had a really good time and enjoyed himself. He's been gone for about a month.
Yeah,
he's just been taken off in Europe for about a month.
He graduated and he pieced out.
Yeah, that's it. He's like and good for him because I told him, he said, hey Dad, I want to help you work on the channel this year, and I don't want to miss 1 minute of camp. So I'm scheduling this trip to Europe before camp. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. So if you've noticed, I've put out a little bit less content in the last month than I normally have. And it's just because my main man is walking through museums. Oh, you know who Kev ran into Papa in Santorini.
Get out! Like totally unplanned, just bumped into Greg Papa.
There he is. There's Greg in Santorini.
I know Greg was there. I saw pictures of him and Lyle on Facebook, and
Greg was in Santorini. He's like, my son's like, Greg Papa's here. I'm like, go say hi. So he's like, yeah, hey, how you doing, Greg?
That's great. That's great. That just shows you, man, the world's a small place. You be in Santorini, Greece, and bump into.
Not only that, Kev said that one day he was wearing a Krug Show shirt in I think he said it was in Greece, and somebody recognized him and said, I watch that show all the time. He's like, are you kidding me? He's like, I'm Larry. Kev. He's like, Kev.
When
crazy. It's crazy.
When I was telling Jillian about Wake Up and how, you and I are going to be doing this show 3 days a week throughout all football season and really around the clock, around the year, we now do it. She's like, well, why are you doing it with Larry? And I said, well, honey, he's huge in Greece.
Yes, we're big. Oh yeah. I mean,
huge in Athens. You wouldn't believe.
Athens, Georgia? No, Athens, Greece. Sean Turner says, Larry, get some aloe on that crispy forehead. My wife yesterday said, hey, let's go to the pool. So we haven't spent a lot of time at the pool, but we decided to take in the nice weather at the pool yesterday. So yeah, not only that,
wear a visor?
No visor. I got a haircut. And so it's very, it's very, very short. And then I've got a little burn going up top here. I've got to get my pre-camp burn in before I, have to lather up. I've got my camp hat. I've got camp, everything. Camp shorts.
Have you ever been a visor guy? Would you be comfortable being a visor guy?
No,
I feel like that's a life choice.
It's a Kirby Smart thing. It's a Gruden thing. It's a golfer. It's Davis Love the third. Yeah. I don't get the visor. What's the point? So you want your hair to breathe? Is that what it is? It's like
I guess. You want to either show off your salad because you're proud of it, or you want it to breathe. You think that just, a ball cap is too constrictive. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't wear tons of hats because I don't like that sweaty, hot feeling on my head. But after 3 or 4 days of training camp, you'll see me down there. And Kev went and worked for Novo Construction one summer in Austin. So he got me a Texas hat, right? A white Texas hat. And
like a cowboy hat? Is that
no, UT, University of Texas, a white with the longhorn.
Yes.
And I'm an A&M fan, but I reluctantly wear it, but it's a white hat. And a white hat is definitely is a cooler hat at training camp. So I've brought it with me to training camp for those long days where I can just feel myself burning, where I'm like, absolutely, there's no more lotion involved here. It's time to put a hat on. So I always carry with me my Longhorn hat. Well, like 3 times last year, I put it on. The one time I put it on, Deshaun Jameson, who went to UT, intercepted a pass at practice and then fist bumped me on the sideline because he saw the UT hat.
There you go. Like, hook him, Larry. Hook him.
He gave me the hook 'em horns. And then I had a couple players come up to me and give me the upside down horns.
Yeah.
Like down with Texas. I had a few of those last year. And Colton McKivitz on more than a couple occasions was like in the middle of O-line drills, Damon, you'd be like, Kruger, get rid of that terrible hat. Like right in the middle of an O-line drill. You're hearing Colton McKivitz yell, Kruger, that hat sucks. He went to West Virginia. Needless to say, Big 12 rivals.
There you go. I'm ready for a little college football. By the way, I got I got College Football
When does
25
that start?
for PlayStation, and
Do you?
I've been playing it. I've been playing a ridiculous amount of video games for a 49-year-old man with 2 kids and a lot of work to do.
It's all right. My kid plays a lot of video games. I don't play a lot of video games, and it's like I need to be in like kind of like a carefree attitude. Like, you know, I mean, it's got to be like I got to have literally nothing to do. I mean, if I have anything to do, if I got to load the dishwasher, if I got to walk the dog, if I got to go shopping, if I got to do anything at all, I can't play video games. But if I have absolutely nothing to do, you know what? Video games is a lot of fun.
What's your favorite household chore? For me, it is dishes. I don't mind doing dishes at all. I like doing dishes. I think there's something weird and satisfying about unloading and loading the dishwasher, which is odd because I hate laundry. I hate laundry to my core, to the point where I don't do it. Like, I would have it farmed out if it were.
Yeah, I don't do laundry either. My wife does the laundry. I do load the dishwasher. Favorite. I don't know if I would say it's a favorite. I mean, I do all the heavy lifting, right? So it's like if we're gonna take the Christmas tree from the top of the Tahoe, carry it in the house, and put it in the stand, you know,
you're your home's roadie.
I'll carry it. I'll carry it off the thing, and I'll hold it there as somebody gets on their hands and knees and screws it in.
I'm a laundry guy, and I'm
what other household duties are there?
My single favorite thing, technically out of the household, though, I love mowing my lawn. I don't have much of a lawn.
Is that a code for something?
I got a patch of grass. No, when I say mowing the
I
lawn,
love mowing my lawn.
I love mowing my lawn, dude. I do. I love it. If you
wouldn't have this were radio, that would have been isolated. I would have said back to the producer, "Hey, Lucas, did you get that? Did you get that? Did you get here? I'll see if I can get Lucas. I'll see if I can get him to say it again. I'll see if I can get him to say it again. I like mowing my own lawn. Did you get a clean copy of that, Lucas? You got a clean copy of that? All right, we're good. And then every time for the rest of time, you know, we dropped it in on you anytime.
But
do you have a lot of lawn?
So we got a little patch in the backyard. It's about the size of a first down. Okay. And in my front yard, it's a comically small patch of grass. And I tell Jillian, I'm like, if I can't keep this small, eensy, weensy patch of grass green and properly mowed, I'm not a man. This is all I have to do.
I guess the one thing I do like is I like cutting the fruit trees. So we have an apple tree and an orange tree on our patio. And you know the way it works. It's like, oh, that's great, until the fruit gets rotten and starts to fall and rats start jumping into your tree and you can hear them, and you know what I mean? Then all of a sudden it's not so great. So I bought a picker. It's a gigantic red pole with a cage on there. Have you ever seen a fruit picker?
Yes. It looks like a Lincoln log lacrosse stick on the end.
Yeah, it's like a tiki torch, but with a cage.
Yes,
you know, something like that. Anyway, you just go up and you grab for an apple or orange, and then you kind of twist it, and it falls into it, and then you just keep dumping them. You can pick like 6, 7 oranges at a time. Then you dump them in our green can. But I like the trees grow really fast here, and I like, you know, getting up on the ladder and just getting a sweat going, maybe take the shirt off on a super hot day and just get up there and just drench myself in sweat as I get my pruner and I'm just cutting.
There's the video we need. Larry, shirtless, picking fruit,
cutting the trees down. And they grow like wildfire. I mean, absolutely. These trees grow so freaking fast. So trimming the trees of the fruit and then throwing all the fruit. And then the other thing, I've been battling with my neighbor, for decades, right? So he's got a tree that sometimes goes over my fence, and I like to cut it just right on the fence line. So like when he comes home, he can see like, do not cross this line. You know what I'm saying? So I trim his tree back from blocking my windows.
That's
that's the Bay Area right there. It's like, we don't have a lot of distance between you actually have a separation. See, I grew up in a house in the Sunset where our neighbor's house literally was 1 inch from our house.
Right. Touched your house.
It touched the house. Yeah. So, but you don't have that. So you're very fortunate. But yeah, we're in that spot now out here in the burbs where our neighbor is like right there on top of us. So yeah, cutting the trees. The rest of the one that I absolutely run from, where I'm just like, where's Dad? I don't know. He was here a second ago. Anytime Penny vomits, I'm out.
Oh yeah,
Dog vomit. I mean, it's like,
it's not fun.
That's usually when I buy my wife a card, some flowers, and just say, you know what? I love you. And then that's when she's like, why are you saying that? I'm like, because you cleaned up Penny's vomit and I didn't.
I go way out of my way to thank Jillian. Every time there's a fresh load of laundry done, kind of folded on the end of the bed, and I'm just, thank you, honey. Thank you.
Yeah. Really, you don't like laundry. You don't even like the clean laundry. You can't fold the clean laundry. I could fold clean laundry. I just don't want to do all the dirty laundry.
I think folding is my least favorite part of the process. I don't want to fold anything, dude. I just want it there. I just want it clean and at the ready. I don't want to be responsible for any of it.
Does she have to put it in the drawers and in the?
Oh no. She draws the line at that.
Here's your stuff. Go put it away.
I believe her direct quote was, "I make twice the money you do. Put your own clothes away, motherfucker." I believe that was the direct quote.
It's very direct.
It was a direct quote.
It's very direct.
And you know what? For the last year and a half, she's been accurate with that. So we need a big football season here, Larry.
Data says Larry trimming the fruit tree in a Warriors jersey. Yeah, don't. Yeah, Warriors seen jersey. That Warrior jersey of my fatness. And then Sean Turner says Damon prefers rolling to folding. Yes.
That's what I'm talking about, Sean. Thank you very much. Larry,
why is Damon rolling the laundry?
I like to roll and mow. That's my process. I roll and I mow. Right. What do we got in terms of super chats, Larry? Generous was the audience this Monday before training camp begins.
No super chats, but we do have this one. 49ers need to be on Hard Knocks.
Oh, the last thing Kyle Shanahan wants. The last thing. We would enjoy it. It would be interesting for us.
I would love it, but you know what? I understand fully why they don't want to be on. It gives your opponents an advantage on you because your philosophies and your mindset and what your preferences are, there's no way to do a Hard Knocks without somehow having somebody in your organization express traits of players that you like and this and that. And why would you want to give your opponent insights? And then why also would you want like the back end of your roster? Like Brock Purdy was technically in the back end of the Niners roster at one point. Now they never subjected him to waivers. But let's just say they had done Hard Knocks that summer, and let's just say Purdy was pretty good, but not quite as good. And they put him through waivers, but somebody saw him in the preseason because they watched Hard Knocks and were like, hey, you know what? I like that kid. We're going to take him. And now Brock Purdy's a star quarterback for some team because you'd wanted to keep Nate Sudfeld. I mean, these are the kinds of decisions that get you fired.
Well, and I wouldn't want the process of letting guys know that they've been cut, they haven't made the team. And that's, Hard Knocks loves those moments. They want those moments of the, we have bad news for you, we're moving on. And it all happens very professionally and unemotionally, but that moment sucks. No one likes to be a part of that moment, and to have it captured and, put on TV. That's a rough one. That's pretty intimate stuff.
D's, by the way, commenting on your union, said when Damon's channel, and it's not Damien.
Seriously.
When Damon's channel blows up, Let's see her talk then.
Let's hear her talk then. There, I told you, honey.
Yeah.
By the way, she is,
you don't make 2.5 times me. You only make 1.75 times me.
Oh, that's it. That's it.
Don't you walk around here trying to make me feel less. Oh, well, I guess maybe it's okay. There you go.
We got countdown.
Invader 49ers. There are secrets that you keep. Oh, just kind of a cryptic comments. Just out of
no. We're very transparent here on the show. This is a secret-free program. Let's see. So we're officially, Larry, 1 day away from the start of training camp.
From reporting day. They report tomorrow. They practice, I believe, Wednesday or Thursday.
4 days away from the beginning of the Summer Olympics. I'm looking forward to that. We're 19 days away from the first preseason game now, less than 3 weeks away from the 49ers putting it on against the Tennessee Titans, and then 49 days away from Monday Night Football week 1 against the New York Jets. It's taken forever to get here, but this is all going to go by fast now, and thank goodness, because I'm ready to go. We need football back. I need it back in my life. We need it back on our channels. We need it back in our minds. I'm tired of talking about theoretical football. I want to be able to react to actual football games. That's when it's the best. So really looking forward to this season. Looking forward to us doing Wake Up 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Hopefully everyone watching makes it a part of their weekly plans to spend your mornings with us, reacting certainly on Mondays to what the 49ers just did. And then on Fridays, getting you ready for everything that's about to happen over the weekend. I know I'm going to be doing a post-game show. Larry, you're going to be starting your post-game show after I get going. And then when my post-game show concludes, I'll be joining you on your channel, kind of the same rhythm that we were in last year. And, man, I'm just looking forward to it, brother. This is going to be so fun. And
it's going to be awesome.
The expectations are just through the roof, and you couldn't want anything more. And I guess like 49ers fans, I know you really want your Lombardi trophy. I know you really want it. Don't be miserable on your way to try to get it. Stop being so miserable. You're in a situation as a 49er fan that most fan bases envy. Don't let all the social media nonsense and bullshit and haterade that everyone's trying to pour for everyone affect your brain or your mindset. You should be very excited, very happy with the situation your franchise is in, and they're trying to do something very, very special. It's going to be a great year. I really think so. I think it's going to be a year where Brock, I think he's going to win the MVP, Larry. If he does win the MVP, sky's the limit. I think this guy's going to have a monster fucking year. I really do.
I do too. Who would you say, we'll finish up with this one. Kyle Posey on Niners Nation today has an article out, and it's just entitled, "Which 49er player will break out in training camp?"
Training camp breakout?
And these are sometimes very easy to predict, but sometimes very difficult to predict. There's going to be somebody that we haven't talked about that is going to have a bust out camp. Who's on your breakout list? Breakout, I guess, would have to be defined by somebody who's going to make a significant stride forward.
So how the man who's been a rumor, how interesting would it be for the 49ers if the light came on, he stayed healthy, and Danny Gray kind of figured it out a little bit? And they really did have a deep threat representative on the field that they could play, who's not a possession guy, who's not a yak guy, but a run past you and catch the football in the end zone type of guy. That would be a huge wrinkle. Jacob Cowing's name came into my mind before I went to Danny Gray, but Cowing, there is some expectation with him being a draft pick, where Danny Gray is off the team unless he plays himself onto it in training camp. So maybe him. I was going to say Malik Mustafa, but you said, it would be more of a surprise. Like, I'm not going to be surprised when Mustafa gets snaps all season long. He's built to do that. He's going to get it. But how great would it be if he were, hey, I'm your starter. You don't have shit to worry about on your back end. I'm the guy. That would be awesome.
Or, if Talanoa Hufanga came back in week 3 and there was no place for him to play because Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa
were so entrenched.
We're so entrenched. I got two. I got two guys that I think I'm really looking for to potentially break out.
Don't say Ricky Pearsall. Too obvious.
No, I'm not going to go Ricky Pearsall. I like Drake Nugent, the Stanford kid who went to Michigan, and just I watched him in drills this spring, and he's just strong. He's smart. I think there's an opportunity there. I don't think Brendel's got as tight a hold on that starting center spot as the rest of the guys do on their spots, and I think you got Ben Barch, who's going to be in the mix, and you got other guys, Kingston and Bryson Mays. But there's something about Drake Nugent when you watch him practice. He just stonewalls these defensive linemen. His two-hand shiver, it rocks them back. Smart player, tough player, broad, a little shorter than you want.
It's why he was available when the Niners got him, right?
Yeah,
if he were 3 inches taller, he's a 4th round pick.
Yeah, he looked good. I mean, as far as just the mini camp, you said who looked good? That guy looked good,
right?
He's
but it's really they're not stonewall line of scrimmage. They're not. I mean, there's the defensive linemen are not coming at him full bore. We don't know yet, but yeah, he did. Right. He looked good.
He looked good. He looked good. He's one for me for sure. Drake Nugent. And if I was going with a second guy, I think I'm gonna go. It's hard because I think I'm gonna go with Braden Willis. Braden Willis just, his game is he's a receiving tight end, so he's replacing Dwelly, and Dwelly's gone now. He's in DC, I believe, or forget where Dwelly's. Maybe Atlanta. Dwelly's in Atlanta.
No. Warner's in Atlanta.
No, they're both in Atlanta.
Oh, really? Oh,
they're both. Yeah, they signed them both, so they're both in Atlanta. But yeah, Warner's definitely in Atlanta too. But Braden Willis, I think, is going to have a real breakout. Why? Because his game is he's a receiving tight end, and he catches balls down the field, and so that is kind of for a tight end, that's an explosive player to add to the mix. This guy didn't do anything last year. He didn't catch one ball. He they liked him, but they basically redshirted him.
But
then watching him in minicamp,
even on the 49ers depth chart on ESPN.com, they got Kittle, Logan Thomas, Cameron Latou, and Eric Saubert.
Yeah. But Braden Willis really looked great in the minicamp. And not only did he look great, he was catching balls with his hands down the field. And the more you read about Braden Willis and the more you watch him, you realize that's his game. I mean, he's not a strong inline blocker. His best thing is that he can make plays down the field and catch the ball. And I just think that once he gets on the field and people see that, Purdy's just hooked up with Braden Willis on a 23-yard catch or a 35-yard catch, immediately he's going to go from who to, wow, Braden Willis is really value here because he's a big play waiting to happen at tight end. So I think Braden Willis, I think his skills are legit. I think you're going to see the fact that, they had that gold helmet designation for a reason because this guy does all the little things right. He's really improved quite a bit. I think he's going to be really, really good. I think he's going to be the kind of player that people are going to be like, I didn't realize they had that other option, that other element. Like he's going to give them, he's a much better receiving tight end than Ross Dwelly.
Well, and what about Pline? There's a guy
too. Pline's also super raw.
Just based on body type, he looks like an NFL player. I mean, that guy, it's like, how the hell did he was he from Furman? Whatever.
I mean, Pline, to me, the thing about Pline is that you're talking about 6'8", and then when you watch him, he's got some he's not like a basketball player. He's got some, real upper body strength. And then he's got 10.5-inch hands, and he's a mechanical engineering major. So he's got huge hands. He's probably one of the smartest guys on the entire team. He had an oddly busy role, it seemed like, during OTAs, which tells me that, they're utilizing him. Brian Fleury, the tight end coach, said that he was, what's that?
They're kicking the tires really hard. They want to see what they got on this guy.
Well, I mean, Brian Fleury told me that Mason Pline is improving at a really, really fast rate, which makes sense because he's a mechanical engineering major. So, the tight end position is a mental position. Lots of shifts, lots of motions, lots of things that you've got to memorize. And I think it was too much for Cam Latu last year. I expect him to be quite a bit better this year. But a guy like Pline, who's really, really smart, it's going to benefit him. I think there's a chance that he makes the team. The guy that I'm not 100% sure about is Logan Thomas as far as can he stay healthy. If Logan Thomas can't stay healthy, I think the tight end trio could easily be Kittle and Willis and Pline.
Sounds about right to me.
Yeah.
I mean, Logan Thomas has got starting tight end experience and reputation as a number 2. Maybe that helps him overcome the wear and tear that is, taking him out of some play. And we'll see. We'll see what Logan Thomas actually has. But the 49ers did jump on him. Or he might not even make the team. So
this guy's been around the block. This guy's been in Arizona, Miami, New York Giants, Detroit, Buffalo, Washington, and now the Niners. So he's been, and he's had some failed physicals, and he's had some injuries, and so we'll have to see what he looks like. But he is 6'6", he is 250. He's a former quarterback. He's got good hand-eye coordination, and there should be some jobs open at tight end.
Thanks so much for being here with us. We'll be back on Wednesday to tell you what the first day of training camp actually sounded like, any news that have come out, obviously leaning hard into hopefully reaching some conclusion on Brandon Aiyuk. We'll see if that doesn't materialize this week, but actual football, actual practice, actual things happening, not just us thinking out loud about a football team. And that's what this week promises. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. It's good to have it here. Larry, that's it. That's all I got on my end.
It's time for us to bolt for the door. One guy who's a football guy who's getting ready for camp in Jacksonville is me, Trent Baalke. And don't forget that, we paid Trevor handsomely. Yes, I took Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson, but I wrote his name down in an envelope. And I said, you know what? Trayvon Walker, no matter what. And Damon, I may have fucked it up, but I fucked it up on my own terms.